Before we get into today's episode, this one is brought to you by Flowdesk, the email marketing platform I use to run my own newsletter at Lion Creatives. If you've been putting off starting an email list or you're on a platform that just isn't working for you, Flowdesk is worth a look. The templates are beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's built for small business owners. Get 25% off your first year at flowdesk.com/c/Lion Creatives, but I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes.
One of the biggest things between AI optimization and, search optimization, traditional, is that it's not really just about your website anymore. AI actually pulls a profile of all of your like everything that you have across the web, and they make a profile for you. So your website is just a piece of that.
Welcome to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. I'm Svenja Lion, and in each episode, I sit down with local business owners and entrepreneurs to share their stories, how they got started, what keeps them going, and what makes their business stand out. My goal? To help more amazing businesses be seen, supported, and celebrated. So grab your coffee, because this might just get creative. So, welcome back to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to pull back the curtain on branding strategy and what it really takes to build something that lasts. Today's guest is very special because we met and now we're actually also working together. And she made a big pivot before most people saw it coming. So Jacki DeVries spent 15 plus years in digital marketing, including time working alongside Neil Patel's team. And she was watching search engines change in real time. She rebuilt her business around what she was seeing, going from FireUp SEO to FireUp AIO, because visibility wasn't going to be about rankings anymore. It was going to be about whether search engines and AI platforms could understand, trust, and recommend your brand. Yes. Jacki, very excited to have you on the podcast. And even after all of our technical difficulties here, I'm really glad you're here.
Me too. Happy Friday.
Yes. Happy Friday. Seriously. Happy Friday.
Wow.
So before we get into all the details and all the questions, tell us about your business. Tell us what you do, what FireUp AIO is about, and who you would like to work with.
Yeah, sure. So I help established businesses get found where buyers now, look for people to hire and, recommend, get cited, all the information. That's really Google AI overviews, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, all the AI platforms. And then, of course, that answer generated, you got Alexa, all those things, but that's a whole nother story. So yes, I really made this shift about 9 months ago when I was at a event where several CTOs were telling me that it would no longer be about getting leads or getting conversions on your website. It was going to be about getting them through AI bots. So that's really when I made the transition, and I realized how complex AI optimization is, which led me to create my FireUp framework, which is essentially the framework that I use in order to help businesses actually get found and take a relatively complex idea and kind of dumb it down to like, okay, what's the foundation here? So the framework aligns with how AI now actually, decides who to recommend and who to cite, and all the things. In terms of who I work with, so I work with a lot of founders, a lot of small businesses. I'm super excited. My automated scorecard is now live. And so I've been getting a lot of great feedback from that. And then, with that comes the implementation plan. And that's, really for those small businesses who don't want to pay for, a retainer fee. They want to do it themselves, but they need more of a map. So that's me.
Yeah, so I actually have the pleasure of working with you right now. And when you first sent over the brief or the first document that you sent over was very impressive. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome, because you really you analyzed the keywords, you went into the copy, you made suggestions on headlines, and it was really impressive. So 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 you mentioned the
Yes.
scorecard. What's the scorecard?
So essentially, it walks through. You enter your website, and what it does is it actually on the back end. Let me tell you, going through the development of this was something else, but totally worth it. So it really actually accesses your website. One thing I will say before I even get going, one of the biggest things between AI optimization and search optimization, traditional, is that it's not really just about your website anymore. AI actually pulls a profile of all of your like everything that you have across the web, and they make a profile for you. So your website is just a piece of that. So with that, the scorecard actually like goes through 17 different steps, checks things on your website, the technical pieces, and then also checks things across the web, and outputs a score. And then it also provides 5 very specific things from a priority perspective that you can do to get better visibility. And that piece is,
Okay.
getting that right took some time, but it's great. So I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of how it turned out.
So it's just to pull it back a little bit. What's the difference between traditional SEO and now the new AIO? I know that, you're definitely an expert, but I'm not, I know about it, but it's not like that I'm an expert in it. But like your point of view, what was SEO? Just for listeners who have no idea. And then how did it change with AIO?
So SEO was all about your website. There are essentially 3 pillars in SEO that mattered for you to get ranked. And it was, all about those blue links. So being on page 1 with the blue links. And that was, the technical piece of your website, the content on your website and keywords, and then, from an authority perspective, the backlinks that you had coming to your website. So that was search, is very focused on that. Now with AI, those things still matter, but what AI does is, from it's artificial intelligence, right? It works more on semantic meaning. And what that means is it's no longer really about your keywords. It's more about having topical depth and really understanding a topic from your, from your website, but also being able to align what's on your website across all your profiles. So that's the biggest difference, is that, your website is now just a piece of it. And really with AI, the biggest thing for them is the trust piece. So they look for a lot of testimonials, for case studies. They look across your social profiles to make sure that the services you have on your website match the services that you're promoting or you have on LinkedIn. So it's just a more complex, system. But it really makes sense, if we look, so SEO started in 2003, and the way that people bought back then was completely different to how people buy now. And now I think that everyone could agree. I'm addicted to Amazon. And honestly, like I buy things based on the reviews. So the review piece is huge. And so it's similar to AI and how they actually choose who to recommend and cite on those, in ChatGPT on AI overviews, is based on, again, having that consistency and having that authority across the web.
So with consistency, what do you mean by that? Because we can all, yes, you have to be consistent on social media, but speaking of someone who is not, I don't like being on social media every day. So I don't like that. So on this consistency piece, I also heard that for SEO purposes, social media is not that. It is important, but not like the main importance. But now with AIO, it's getting more important.
It's important, but it's not about the amount that you post. It's about the consistency across your profile. So really, like and that's it. Like it's trust signals. So essentially, when someone has a query, what AI will do is they will first find like a website, right? And then be like, okay, so let me see if I can match the services here across, like, what is it? What do you have on your LinkedIn profile? So I guess the biggest thing that I have seen is that, you have businesses who've been around for 20 years, right? And they have directories, and half of them don't say the same thing, that, because they don't provide those services anymore, or their business has changed, or their business name has changed. And then they're like, why aren't I getting cited? I was doing great with SEO. Well, it's because, that there's not that consistency isn't there. So it, for people who killed it with SEO and focused a lot on their website and didn't really focus any time outside of it, they're the ones who are seeing the biggest impact. But then you have the ones who, were engaged with the community, had social profiles, go on podcasts, all the things. They're the ones who are winning, which, is exciting, because that allows small businesses to finally kind of have a fighting chance, in a new technology, which is great.
Oh, so that's interesting that you mentioned podcasts, because I was wondering about that, because every time I try to ask, like, my understanding is that if I put a podcast into Claude, it can't read it, but it can read the transcripts. Yeah. So how does it then pull? Because are the transcripts available just, for them to just use?
So, of course, YouTube is, because Google, owns YouTube. So they figured out a way. But they definitely are. And a lot of that yes, they can read the transcript. I don't really know the technicalities on the back end in terms of how they get it, but they do. The rest of them, it's more so about being cited than it is about then actually being able to understand what it's about. If people are having you on their podcast, that is a good signal for, AI essentially to feel like, okay, well, if, this person is having them on their podcast, there must be it's just like a trust signal. But also just making sure that whatever, you post on the podcast and like the description or whatever aligns with what the business actually does, if that makes sense.
That's interesting, because I haven't thought about that. I just made the connection with social media and blog posts, of course, and I didn't think about podcasts. That's
a big one.
Very interesting.
And a lot of times, depending on what you're asking or what you're trying to find, a lot of times they actually will pull, like, half of the AI overviews are YouTube videos that are pulling based on the content in there. So it's big for sure. If I could get into YouTube, I would, but that's just that's like a project for, I don't know, further down the road.
So when you work with a client, what's the typical steps? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So, I always have them do the scorecard first. Just so they can understand, so we can get some type of idea of where they are right now. From there, we set up a fit call to, see if it makes sense for us to work together, if where they're at makes sense, for their business, if they should be investing in this right now, or if there are other things that they should be doing first. And then I do the AI audit. So that is pretty much a prerequisite, to work with me. It's pretty inexpensive. It's, $497. But essentially what it does is the competitive benchmarking, the AI citation testing. So, like, we can actually see where you're showing up, where your competitors, why are your competitors showing up? And then it gives you an outline for each pillar, the things that we can do to, a priority list of things that you can do to improve your visibility. And then it just depends from there. So again, I work with a lot of small business owners, so they love that feedback. But what I found was they're like, great, I need to answer more, customer questions, but like, what customer questions am I supposed to answer? Or like, awesome, so I need to restructure my, service page, but like, what am I supposed to, like, how am I supposed to restructure? Or like, what content should I put? Because it's not as much about keywords anymore as it is about, depth in topics and answer first. Answer first writing essentially is the big thing. So we all know with AI overviews, when you search something, you know, it comes up with like a little paragraph, and that paragraph is being, you know, essentially pulled from somebody's website. So it's like having those, you know, very short answers that AI is looking for. So then after it goes through its signals and you're trusted, they're like, okay, here's the information that I can actually take out and use. So it's different than SEO, which was, you know, all of the guide to long form content. It's not as much about that anymore as it is about, you know, being more specific, and thorough, but also, you know, essentially giving AI what it wants, which is those little blurbs.
Yeah. So, and what I noticed, or not noticed, I mean, I know this from that there's a lot of SEO agencies and there's a lot of websites that just focus on SEO. So the copy sounds very, it just doesn't sound human. It just sounds weird. So with this new AIO, do you think that there's a change because the writing doesn't have to include all these keywords anymore, or is that not the truth?
So I think a good example is like, say you were searching for the American flag, right? So AI, or, you know, the tools are going to pull things that talk about the stars, things that talk about the stripes, like what those meanings are, like how it started, colonial, like all of the things. So it's more so about the actual topic now than it is about using American flag 17 times on your website. So, and it kind of was always that way. But the biggest difference was that, you know, you have a lot of people, again, a guide, like when we look at the guide to, essentially, and I think we can all agree at some point, you know, while back when AI first started, there were a lot of people who were completely using AI to write those guides too. And so all of a sudden you had all these people who could write these massive articles. And so it got really hard for, you know, anyone, search engines, to really know, you know, who was actually writing these and if it was true, right? So now it's more so about like being that authority and using your own, like if you have your own statistics, like your own information, because, you know, AI can obviously tell like what's written by AI. So again, like you look at those companies that they focused a lot on keywords, but it was all about the keyword and not about the actual topic. You know, they're the ones who are seeing the decline, where you have experts who are like specifically experts in, say, trademark attorneys or whatever. That's a very specific niche. So they're going to get cited for that a lot easier because they're very specific about who they help, what they do, all of those things. So having that on your website now is incredibly important. It really is. I mean, you just have to, you just have to understand now that it's not as much about volume as it is about getting the right people. The nice thing about the people that are coming from these AI tools is they're like, I read a lot of studies, so sorry about the stats, but 4.4, you know, more valuable than what we was getting from search. You have 90% of people who are actually, when the AI overview or ChatGPT recommends something, they're actually going there. So you're getting a lot more qualified people, but you're not getting as much. So people who are looking at their analytics, like this was an issue at the beginning of all of this. They were looking at their analytics and they're like, we're not getting the traffic that we used to get. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're not getting that traffic, but it's no longer about getting all of this massive traffic as it is about getting the right type of traffic and the right type of visitors. And that's what we all want anyways. And so, you know, you're seeing with AI, the conversions are better. So less traffic, but better, you know, better leads, better conversions, better people coming to your website. So I think I answered your question.
Yes, you did. So my next question is about the local pages. You know, everybody always wants to show up locally and all that. So is that also impacted by 100%. The AIO?
Yes, 100%. One, it's a trust signal. So, you know, it's really important. You should have your location on there. That's ideal. Trying to, you know, again, unless you're a big Fortune 500 company who does actually service the US, trying to service the entire country, you know, that isn't going, essentially, you're just not going to show up anywhere. Because the way that you know, AI is looking at it is they see your Google profile, they see where you're located, and then they go to your website. And if your website doesn't, you know, align, or your like LinkedIn profile doesn't align with, you know, that what Google Business is saying, then that essentially for them is a mistrust signal, and they'll go to somebody else who has, you know, their location.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So having that is super important, but it also helps with, you know, again, depending on what the topic of the query is, it helps, you know, keep things more regional, which a lot of us tend to like, you know, unless again, it's, I mean, e-commerce is like a whole different beast, but that's something else entirely, because that really doesn't matter as much. But it is still a trust signal. So it is important to have those local pages and to have that, because it will build part of, as, you know, the profile that AI builds for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then my understanding is that the testimonials that you put on those specific pages, they have to reflect what's on the page.
Yes, they have to reflect
so
that
they have to
specific
match
service. Ideally. So,
yes. Well, yes.
And that's the biggest thing is it really has, there are a lot of differences. There are a lot of differences between AI optimization and search, but not everything has to be done at once. I always tell people, start with your key pages, like your selling pages. So if there is one service page that you get a lot of conversions from or whatever, those are the ones to focus on first. But I have one of my clients, we recently updated all of his reviews, you know, so he was able to get very specific reviews from his customers, and putting that on there, I mean, his AI recommendations, it increased by 68%. So it is actually,
wow.
It is really important, because again, just having those like generic reviews is something that everyone can have, but having those specific trust signals for that service, for that product, is really what sets you apart and gets you into, you know, the handful of companies that they'll recommend.
And how do you get those reviews? Because usually you send the Google review link and then say, oh, can you please review? And then most of the people just say, oh, it was awesome and 5 stars.
So, I mean, unfortunately, you have to be, I shouldn't say unfortunate, but it's just asking. For me, it's easy because I do it for a living. So it's like when I tell my clients, like, hey, this is what you need to do. Oh, by the way, can you do it for me? It's pretty easy. But it is. So, I mean, it's having those projects that go really well, and then being intentional, asking them like, hey, you know, I want to get more clients like you, work like this, you know, would you mind explaining like specifically what we did and you know, how I help you?
So, okay. So you can send them, I'm just thinking of how to really do that, because you can send out your own questionnaire, but then technically just get the review on your backend. But if you want to get the reviews on Google, you can send them a kind of a questionnaire, a guide where they can just answer questions.
Yes. Well, essentially what I do is, you know, I send them the link, my Google review link. And I say that I've done it to like 3 people. I have like 3 reviews. So it's something I'm working on, one thing at a time. The scorecard is done. So yay. You know, I mean, honestly, being a business owner, as you know, especially when you're in a industry like mine, where it's like really the first one there wins, you could literally stay up for days doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, right? And so that's why it's very important to me to be very intentional about priorities and what's going to make the biggest impact, because there's a lot of things, right? But anyways, and then I'll send them the link, and I'll just be like, hi, you know, great working with you. I know, like, you know, usually I do it to the ones who are like, you did a great job. And then, you know, essentially like, would you mind leaving a review, but like putting in the review what you like, what we worked on and, you know, what you thought about the outcome or whatever. So there was one person I helped optimize their local SEO back in the day, right? So like, well, back in the day, like a year ago.
Yeah, that is back in the day.
So it was, you know, asking her like, hey, can you put that I helped you with, you know, your local SEO and your experience around it. It's not always easy, but it also having, it's better to guide them so they understand. And it's, you know, I mean, if you're asking for a review, unfortunately, that's just what you have to do now. Because rarely people are going to, and I'm sure you know, I mean, for me, it's like I leave a review, I'm like, this is great. Or like, they did great work. So, which again is something that everyone can do. So it's about being intentional about those.
But I think that can also help the people that you're asking the review from.
Yes.
If they, because sometimes I mean, I know, you know, but then I don't know what to write. And then it's like,
exactly.
okay. And if you guide them through the whole process, like, okay, this is, tell us a little bit about what we did together, what the outcome was, and
100%.
what made you think this worked very well. So I think it's a little bit more work on your end, but then to get the review, it might be
it's easier. I mean, that's what I have found. And that's kind of how I pitch it, whether or not they think that works.
Yeah.
But then it's also, I mean, I'm just waiting. I'm trying to automate a lot of different things. So I'm trying to figure out a way to take all of the data that I have and somehow just have something create a case study for it so I don't have to do it myself. I'm trying to figure out a way where I can pull that, but you know.
When you come up with that, please share, because I need that idea too, please.
Right. You know, it's effort, but that's it's same with case studies, you know, and you don't need a lot. It's not, again, as much about volume. I mean, the companies who do have a lot of volume, obviously, whatever. But for, you know, us, it's better to be intentional and have those couple really good reviews or couple really good case studies, because that at least is, you know, checking that box for trust signals. You know, so instead of having more generic, that was like when I did the scorecard for myself. First of all, I'm AI optimized, so woo! But the first thing that I got was you know, have better case studies, essentially, that are more specific about what you did and the outcome that they got. And I'm like, great.
I know. And I mean, especially, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, when I create a branding, the results, they're not, I mean, they have a new branding then and everything looks very nice, but you cannot measure right away. It's not going to be from 0 to 100. It's going to take a while. And for SEO, I think that's the same case, because it's over time. It's not just immediate.
So again, it's keeping all that data. But also, you know, usually what I will do is I'll just take because I don't want to use there's a lot, right? So at least I'll just make sure I take a screenshot of what it was before. So then that way I have some type of idea of what I'm working with. And I do have, for me, it's easy because I have a lot of tools that kind of show you over time how that looks. So I can look, you know, a year ago versus today and what that data looks like. So that makes it easier, but it's still, you know, again, just something on my list of things to do.
And what I want to talk a little more about is you mentioned something in our pre-call that we had, that it's the difference between being discoverable by design and by accident. Because I think a lot of people get found on ChatGPT, and that's awesome, that's cool, but it's not, you can't repeat it because it's by accident. So, and what's the importance of making, I mean, it's always important to know why something is working, but
so
talk a little bit
it's funny you
about
asked that. So I was chatting with a woman, from the networking group that we're part of. And she was like, yeah, you know, I don't know how I got found on ChatGPT, but I'm getting like a ton of referrals from there. And honestly, looking at her page, she just hit all of the marks. I mean, very specific about what she does. She had very specific testimonials on there. She hit those signals. And so it really is, I mean, it's honestly not really about accident anymore. If you're getting found on there, it's because you did the right things. And so really to your point,
but you don't know what it is. You don't know what those things are.
Until, to your point, until you talk to somebody like me and I'm like, oh, this is the reason why. You know? And then she had like services, and then she had one thing I will say that's important. And I'm sure, like, again, this is just relating back to what we all see. So when AI overview, when it says something, or ChatGPT, whatever it gives you a result back, it does very specific things. It will say like things to consider, what, like, you know, it gives you more than just a little blurb. It kind of walks you through the other things to keep in mind. And so having those details, like specifically pricing on your website, I know people don't like to do it. Even if you can just put a starting price on there in a fact, like in one of the facts, it helps because, again, that's information that a lot of businesses don't have right now. And so if you're able to provide that information, again, it's just another trust signal. It's another thing that AI wants to be able to provide the user for the recommendation. So, you know, the discoverable by design is really all about being intentional about what you're doing. But right now, to your point, a lot of people aren't sure why they're showing up. They just are. And then you have other people who are like, why am I not showing up? Like, and there's so much noise out there, you know, from everyone who like just decided to like add it as a service in terms of what to do and what not to do. And so you know, when I was posting, and I'm going to start posting a lot more on LinkedIn now that I have my scorecard like already. But I was getting a lot of comments from people who are just frustrated. They're like, because they're like, it's a whole new game. You know, I don't understand why I'm not showing up, but like, it seems like a lot of work.
Well, it is frustrating. It is frustrating. I mean, I did my whole SEO by myself, and it is a lot of work. It is not just something that you just do, maybe an hour. No, that it has to be like a continuous update and a continuous refining. And if you don't know, like what's working and what's not working, you're just refining something. And I think it's a very important part to just know what's working and what doesn't, and what you should be doing. And then I think once you go more into this, and if you have the time to invest, and if you talk to an expert like you so that you can kickstart this learning process, then you can do it yourself.
Yeah, well,
you just need to understand
and that's, again, why the FireUp framework has been like so important, because it takes all of these things and like breaks it down to priorities. So, you know, the F is foundation. So the one, you know, at the end of the day, AI, all of these things are essentially robots. They read code. So your code needs to be clean on the back end. Like if it can't read your site, there were, you know, prior to AI being such a big thing, there were a lot of different robot.txt, which I won't get into what that is, but actually we're blocking the AI bots. So a lot of, you know, the people I talk to, I'll look at their website and they're like, why aren't I showing up? And I'm like, well, you know, your robot.txt is essentially blocking any AI from being able to read your site. So that's like number one priority, right? And then you have people, I just read something recently that she was like, yeah, I'm offering it as a service now to my clients and like creating Wikipedia pages. And I'm like, okay, you know, that could maybe help, but when you look at it from a priority perspective, that's like not anywhere near the front. But I did just want to say, you know, going to the P at the end, that's performance. And you mentioned it. So one thing that AI does keep track of is progress over time. So, I mean, like, keep in mind that, you know, all these things have all your data. You know, it has access to analytics. It has all of this stuff. So it can see, for them, it's super important that you know, are updating your site, keeping it fresh. But also, it's not like that for example, you're seeing improvement in your conversions, or you're seeing improvement in your time on site, that is now something that they actually can like understand and know. So, you know, to your point, it is something you have to continuously do, but it is something that ultimately AI does reward you for doing, you know, so, but again, I mean, when I say update, I mean, you know, adding like a blog once every 3 months, starting out is, you know, is good. You don't have to go on there.
I would even go that far that updating the little disclaimer in your
100%.
footer that says 2026 instead of 2020.
100%.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
Because that's the first thing. And it's an easy thing to fix. You can just go in and update it.
Exactly.
Yes. But there's a lot of websites and people out there that don't know that. And they don't even know that that little thing exists.
Right? I
you
know. But to your point, that's a very important one. You know, if they see that's a trust signal too, like if they go on your website and it says, you know, if it has like copyright 2023, it's like, okay, well, this isn't the thing.
And yeah. And then isn't it also your images, like they have a timestamp on it too? So if your profile or your about picture is from, I don't know, 1980.
Yeah, so they're not there yet.
Probably, you know.
They can see when you upload, like when you uploaded the photo. If they can't really identify yet, maybe ChatGPT can, because they put a ton of money into their, you know, image program. But outside of that, a lot of them can't see that specifically. But they do look again at the code, because every time you update something, it puts it in the, you know, all the things. So that's what they're looking for when they're, you know, scanning your page. It's like, okay, so this has been updated. But in terms of the photo itself, you know, like for example, for your about page, it's really important to have information on there about your team. You know, having an image on there of the team, again, is a trust signal. And I have, you know, a lot of people who are like, well, like in the manufacturing space, who are like, well, I don't really want to, you know, put like a photo of my team. And I'm like, all right, like you do you, but they will see on there that you do have, based on the alt text, that you have a photo of the team, and that will, like, you know, check another box.
Yeah. And what about going back to testimonials again? Because that's another thing that I heard, that video testimonials are even better than written testimonials.
It's funny you asked me that question, because it's argued on both sides. That fully hasn't, you know, been tested. But ultimately speaking, I would say if you are a small business owner and you don't have the opportunity to do both, stay with text. If you are somebody who's, you know, able to get a lot of reviews, who has the time to do video reviews, it can add like a trust signal, but it's not one that it's not the most important trust signal to focus on. If that makes sense. It's a little bit, I mean, you know, but ultimately they're going to look for text reviews first, and then if you have the video ones, it's a bonus. But again, if that company that has the video testimonials, you know, doesn't have consistent profiles, or, you know, doesn't have case studies, those are going to matter more than a video testimonial, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You also said something in the pre-recording call about finding your right audience and not wasting your time in the wrong audience. Can you explain that?
I sure can. You know, I think it's very easy for all of us to want the whole pie, right? And like a lot of times thinking that being broader is going to bring in more people is the way to go. And again, going back to the idea that, like, you know, the mentality of having a bunch of traffic is the most important thing. I kind of look at it as the same with, like, you know, pay-per-click or social, where it's like, impressions versus conversions, right? So like, yeah, it's great to get it, but is it ultimately leading to more business? So being intentional about who, really specific, like who you work with, and, you know, stating that on your site is ultimately going to move the needle faster, because those people are then, you know, like, you're it, right? You're not one of the more generic. It's like, if you specifically say, I work with service businesses who have 1 to 3 employees and we do this with the outcome of this, then, you know, AI is going to pull that for that specific person or for that buyer.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, that's not just important for SEO, AIO, whatever. It's also important for your branding
100%.
perspective, that if you say you can service everyone, it's like going to, you know, you have a brain tumor. Wasn't that in the book that we were reading?
100%.
If you have a brain tumor and you go to the dentist could maybe, you know, do it, maybe.
Right?
But it's not the specialty. You go to a specialist to get that fixed. So, and that's for SEO, for AIO, for branding, for, you know, if you are just pulling professions here, but if you're a plumber, you might be able to do your design, but that doesn't mean you should, you know, it's, or the other way around. If you're a designer, you should probably not do your plumbing.
100%. You know? And then again, that comes down to being intentional about your reviews and, you know, having those signals on there, so you are the obvious choice. You know, because people, I mean, it's crazy. I haven't really gotten into it yet because, you know, I use AI all the time, but I haven't gotten to the point where I'm talking to it yet. But they're all,
oh, really?
No, I'm not there yet. I
have conversations.
Oh, do you? I don't know. I'm just like such a precise person. It's just, I don't like, I just have like, I don't know. It's weird. Also because I code. And so it's like, for me, it's just better. I'm a faster typer than I am speaker. So, like it's crazy, but either way, you do have a lot of people who are doing that. And so like thinking about it in that sense that, you know, really these AI agents, these AI platforms are listening to them talking. So it's just a completely different world. And they're going to be at that time looking for very specific companies who are doing this exact long phrase, you know, I mean, there's 20 words there that they, you know, have to basically understand and then find something for. But we're a lot more specific now than we used to be about things. So, but that's all part of the game, right?
Yeah, I know. It's I find it very interesting. It's a lot to learn, and I'm so glad that we're working together, and that you know, Lion Creatives can also offer the your services as well, because it really helps. Because sometimes I feel like that not everybody needs the whole package of SEO and AIO. But you can definitely get ahead with it. So it's important.
I mean, really, there are a handful, like in those content briefs, something that is really important is for AI is schema. I mean, that's always been important. That's always been a boost, but especially in AI. And so like what schema is like, you can think about it as like a nutrition label. There's a specific order that you expect to see when you look at a nutrition label. And schema is the same way. So having, and that's in schema's coding in the back end, that mentions your name, that talks about your open business hours, all of those things, similar to a nutrition label, they're able to be stored in, you know, AI's memory or whatever. So it's easier to pull you as a recommendation because they already have that information saved, if that makes sense. And that's all like organized data, essentially. So again, like when we look at the technical aspect, site speed, making sure you have like that AI can access you, and schema are like the 3 things, you know, those are the 3 most important things. And then you can kind of go on with like content, make sure it's answer first structure. So there is a lot, but it's like 2 or 3 things, right, to focus on. And And then of course, like what's the most impactful? And I can tell you now that, the trust signals from a review perspective and case studies is right now the most important, assuming that AI can access your website.
Yeah. So if a listener that listens right now, if you want to do one step right now, it's focusing on your reviews 100%. And really getting that down. And then also making sure, so where on your website should you have specific reviews? Because what I understand is that you should have it on the specific pages that relate to those reviews,
you should.
Correct?
So ideally. And from a design perspective, again, 1 to 3 is perfect. So having them on the page, another big one again for AI to be able to extract is having facts. You have a lot of people who are asking questions, and generally, specifically 88% of the time, if they're pulling your fact information or they're pulling information from your website to source as whatever, there's 88% chance that you're also going to be source or cited as like the recommended choice. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yes. So those are the FAQs that you should have on
100%. Yeah. And
on every single page or just on specific pages?
Start with your money pages. I know. And just start with your money pages. That is what I would say. Like your service pages. So that way, when a buyer is asking about a specific service, right, they can pull out that information or cite you. Every page is ideal. You don't really need to have it on your contact page, right? Like not every page, but every like money page. That's.
What about the homepage? Because that's like, from a design perspective, that is not cool.
So so yes, having facts on your homepage is good. But the type of facts that are on there is like, for me, is like, what is AI search optimization? That's the type of, so like when we look at keywords, right, it's more so those are now kind of like facts. So what are the keywords? So like, and it doesn't have to be in a FAQ format. It can be, styled the regular way. Doesn't have to be an FAQ. But you are more likely to get cited if you have the actual question and the answer right beneath it. So you can have it anywhere, but as long as you have the question and answer together, it doesn't have to be in the facts section, but just try to have those together because that's very easy to pull and they don't have to try to figure out what question you're trying to answer with your content. It's just right there. If that makes sense. So be direct.
Well, that's very, very interesting. And I encourage everyone to, I don't know, you have, if someone fills out your scorecard, they can book a call with you, right?
They absolutely can. Please call me, or like respond to me. You'll see that results. You'll get an email from me with the results. If you have questions, I'm here. Clearly, I'm very passionate about the subject, and it's fascinating to me. Like I wouldn't do anything else. But I'm also like a nerd, and as we've talked about, I'm not very creative. So for me, it's really great.
But see, that's you're the expert in it. I do all the
you're the expert in it. Give me a structure and a process, and I'm set. Tell me to
processes.
Tell me to draw something. You have to tell me what to draw. That's where I'm at.
I get it. I get it. So one question that I ask in most of the, if I don't forget, in the podcast is, do you have one marketing challenge that you're working through?
Yes, I do. From a marketing challenge perspective, I'm going to be more broad here in the sense that, AI is it still hasn't even fully been developed yet. So when you look at, even just from a product offering perspective, like when I launched FireUp AIO, I thought that buyers would want a totally different type thing than where I am right now. So from a challenge perspective, it's really from like a marketing perspective, it's just making sure that I am providing what people really want. And, you know, I'm always adding to my offerings because there's always new stuff that's, you know, the great thing is I thrive in chaos, which is great. So, but I'm always adding to my service offerings because there's new things, you know, in the industry that are coming out. So, you know, it's not really a field you get into if you want to just kind of stay with like one service, like plumbing, you know, it's not quite, maybe I shouldn't compare it or whatever, either way. So that's a bit of a challenge, but, you know, it's a fun challenge too, because, you know, I talk to people every day and they tell me what they want. So it works out well.
Yeah. But I can, I mean, not that I can relate to the, always adding more services, because I really try to just have 3 services.
I should say adding more bullet points to the services, you know?
Yes.
You know, where it's like, these are the things that we're going to focus on. And then all of a sudden you find out that there's a new thing. But I think that's more so right now because it's in the beginning phases. I think like right now, like we look again at citations and having like, I feel like it's not so prominent anymore, thank goodness. But at the beginning of all of this, Reddit was like everywhere. So, and those discussion boards were everywhere. The whole idea is that they want to see community engagement. I think as AI, you know, progresses, it's going to be more specific about, okay, like, are you part of an industry community? Like, it's going to get smarter. And so then again, like when I look at my service offerings, that might not be, it might get more specific or whatever. But that's also what, you know, at the end of the day, what makes me stand out is knowing that stuff, is being on top of it. You know, so it works out well.
Well, that's awesome. So, and time flew by. We're already at the end of our conversation. And one final question: do you have on your form? You said that you mentioned that FireUp came from something from a CEO.
Yes, my fun fact. It actually is what got me into entrepreneurship. My last job that I had before I decided to go out on my own, I was at happy hour with my CEO, and you know, she said to me, she's like, when I think about what really fires you up in the morning, like what really gets you out of bed, you know, I think about SEO and search, and you know, and I sat there and in my mind I was like, this is obvious, you know, like why you're like that. So, you know, that's just one of those things where it's a true passion of mine. You know, and really my goal is to help businesses, because I grew up with, you know, watching my dad start a business, and it's just one of those things where, you know, like being ethical, being actually, you know, doing what you're supposed to do, actually helping businesses, you know, all of those things. So that's what I'm really passionate about. Is that's why I should do more case studies. I just don't.
I know. Case. Don't even get me started. I'm like so behind with my case studies. I don't even.
So many things.
Need to do it.
I know. Right?
Yes, so many things.
You're ongoing.
So if someone would. If someone would like to get in contact with you, how can they find you?
Well, I would say first my website, FireUp-AIO.com. That is the easiest way, but you know, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. With my LinkedIn, it's literally just Jacki DeVries. If you noticed here, I don't have an E on my name. That's always the most difficult, is it's just Jacki. I had to be different. So, you know, my mom, I had to stand out. So anyways, a lot of people spell it with an E, but it's not. It's just Jacki. Yeah, I'm everywhere. So Instagram too, JL DeVries 23. But really, my website, I think, and LinkedIn are the easiest ways to remember me.
Okay, perfect.
And take the scorecard.
Wonderful.
Woo.
And
anyways,
Yes, I'm going to share the link to the scorecard and to your social profiles and website. I'm going to share all of that in the show notes. And it was, speaking of scorecards, I do have a scorecard as well.
Yay.
So if you're a business owner, you can just get it all done in one swoop. My scorecard is about your branding.
I love that.
And where your branding stands, and it scores. You answer a couple of questions, take like 5 minutes, and then you get a score in the end, and tells you a little bit about what you should be doing.
Wow, that's great.
So,
I'm actually going to do that.
Yes, yes, it's on my
Yeah,
website.
I will definitely do that.
And yes, and that was a really nice conversation. I loved having you on the show, and I'm really excited to keep working with you.
You as well.
And yes, thank you. All right. So this was it. Hopefully see everybody or talk to everybody soon. And hopefully you had got some information from this conversation. And you can share this with a business owner that might need some help with their SEO or branding. And you can subscribe and listen to the episode. Bye. Until next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who loves discovering local businesses and creative entrepreneurs. You can learn more about my work at lioncreatives.com or find me on Instagram, lion.creatives, and LinkedIn at Lion Creatives. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep getting seen.